So before we actually get into today's video, I want to talk to you guys about jerseyfifa.com, because as you can see they have hooked me up with a load of fresh shirts for this year's World Cup. I've got the England home kit, the England away kit, and also a nice little retro shirt. And you can do exactly the same if you head to jerseyfifa.com using the link in the description down below. They also do the same for club football as well, the latest home shirts, away shirts, but also some really nice retro kits. If you are interested, head to the link in the description down below and use code jerseyfifa for a discount when you order. Now into the video. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel and the Scouting for Manchester United series, the series where we look at players from around the world and discuss whether or not they should join Manchester United, probably in the summer. However, today we are talking about Joao Felix and more the potential of a move in January. Of course, a loan move. Now, Manchester United have had a bit of a setback in recent days in terms of their transfer strategy, with Cody Gakpo joining Liverpool. Personally, I'm not too disheartened by that. Those of you that watched my video on Gakpo would have known that I wasn't fully convinced. So it's time for United to move on to a new target, because, as we look at it, United do quite clearly need a striker. Martial is the only option. Rashford can play there, but it's not ideal. Martial is injury prone and unreliable in terms of his availability. So United do need to find themselves a new striker, and one of the players being spoken about is Joao Felix. Now, it's not working for him at Atletico Madrid. He, of course, moved for about 150 million the other year. It hasn't really worked, and for me, it was never going to work, because the football that Atletico Madrid play is awful. It's really bad football. It doesn't allow creative attacking players to flourish, and Joao Felix has suffered as a result. But let's take a look at Joao Felix, and let's talk about, can it work at Manchester United? Because for me, there's a really good player in here. A really good player. At 23 years old, he is still at a point in his career where he can develop so much. His whole career is ahead of him. And I think the Portuguese man proved at the World Cup that even despite recently playing in poor systems, both for Portugal and Atletico Madrid, that he still provided quality and provided moments and kind of showcased himself in those games, which I think that alone shows how good he is. I think we are talking about a player who has the potential to be one of the best of this generation. I really do think he's that good. He just made the wrong move at the wrong time in his career. He's been at Atletico Madrid for 3 years now, or 3.5 years even, and unfortunately that has wasted some important years for him. However, despite playing in systems which haven't really suited him, which don't get the best out of him, he has still produced, and we can see that in his stats here. Just as a kind of basic FB ref report, this is pretty decent. This is the sort of stuff we are looking for when we're looking for forwards, complete forwards. This is not bad at all. What is particularly perhaps surprising maybe about this report is that the non-penalty XG at the top here, only ranking in the 40th percentile, however non-penalty goals ranking in the 83rd percentile. So what that means is his non-penalty XG is low. So he isn't getting a ton of goal-scoring chances with Atletico Madrid, however his non-penalty goals are high, which means that despite getting a low quality of chances, he is still scoring goals. And I think that is something which is kind of underrated a little bit about him. He is a good finisher. Last season for Atletico Madrid he scored 8 goals in La Liga from an XG of around 7, but we can see that's from 39 shots. So his XG is kind of boosted by the amount of shots he's had. So Joao Felix is a very good finisher, and I think it's a side of his game that doesn't get the appreciation that it deserves. It's for that reason, the fact that he is a good finisher, that he has so often been used in a central position. Now, people that don't really watch Joao Felix very often might think he's more of a winger, and he has played there in the past, left wing 26 times in his career, right wing 14 times in his career, but what we can see is that he's played as a centre forward 32 times, and a second striker 116 times, as well as an attacking midfielder on 9 occasions. Most of his games have come from central areas, and that is why I think we can talk about, could he work at Manchester United? If he had spent a lot of his career on the left wing, it wouldn't really make sense to move him into this central position, but his central area is an area that he is used to playing in. The problem is kind of the way he's played in there. Because with Atletico Madrid, but also when he's done it for Benfica in the past, it's been with a striker with him. And that isn't a luxury that Manchester United really have. I don't think I see a system where United play a front two with Felix and Martial. That doesn't really work in my head. I don't see it working for Ten Hag. He wants the extra numbers in midfield. So the problem is that it is a case of replacing Martial rather than playing alongside him, which means Felix has to go from being a second striker, like he's been so many times in his career, to being the main man. So the question is, can he do that? Can that work? Briefly, the answer for me is yes. I do think that is something that he can do. Now, the thing is, he's not doing it how other people might do it. In terms of other players that we've looked at recently, we've looked at Gonzalo Ramos, Evan Nielsen, we'll look at Victor Osimhen at some point, Vlahovic, players like that. These players are number 9s. These are players that want to get in the box and score you 20 plus goals a season. I don't think that is Joao Felix. He's never hit even close to those numbers. So what United would need to do is they would need to change their system if they want to bring Joao Felix in, because he isn't the same sort of striker. So what United would be getting in Felix is a false 9. Not a 9, not a poacher, not a box presence who's going to get lots of goals. A false 9. That is what United would be getting. Now, kind of initially, that does make you question it a little bit, because if we look at Ten Hag's success with Ajax last season, Sebastian Haller, not a false 9. He was very much a target man. He was very much a box presence, a traditional number 9. That was the role he played. However, if you go back a couple of years to 2019, and that Ajax side, Dusan Tadic was the striker. And I see some big similarities between Dusan Tadic and Joao Felix. So Sebastian Haller was a player that liked to play this way, kind of vertical like this, right? Whereas Tadic was a player that much more wanted to drift out wide and get the ball here, drift out wide, get the ball here, and get runners going past him. If he was drifting to the left, runners past him. I think Joao Felix could do a very similar sort of job, especially with the fact that he likes to drift to the left-hand side, where we know, as we've spoken about several times with several different players, Rashford then likes to attack the space. That could be a dynamic that really works, especially with Eriksen playing a little bit deeper on this side and Luke Shaw providing the width. This could be an area that really works. And we know it is something that Felix likes to do, because if we look at his heat map from this season so far, despite often starting in central areas, he does want to drift to that left-hand side. So naturally, he's kind of another player that if United were to sign him, he does want to drift towards the left. So that could work with Marcus Rashford. I think Rashford is best used as an inside forward. I think using Rashford as a winger that holds the width and constantly beats his man and puts crosses in is not the way to use him in my opinion. He's best in these areas, and that's where we've seen the best from him this season, with Shaw getting around him to kind of take a defender, allowing Rashford to come inside and get on the ball. Felix being a player who naturally wants to drag players out of position, that could be a really nice little combination. And I do think Joao Felix has the ability to work into this position. Now, the thing is, it is a slightly new role for him, because as I said, he has kind of traditionally had a striker alongside him. So it would be something new for him. However, if we go back to this quote from Diego Simeone, he has a vision that allows him to adapt to many positions and is in a process of adaptation. And the best thing is he has that desire to learn. Talent is innate, but a desire to learn is the shortest path that a player has to perform. So this is a very, very positive quote. Simeone doesn't seem to actually particularly like Joao Felix, so for him to be saying that 1, he can play in a lot of positions, but 2, that he's willing to learn, that is a really good attitude for him to have coming into this new kind of role. In terms of how this role would actually work at United, I do think it would have to be a tweak from Ten Hag. I don't think it kind of naturally works straight away. I don't think he is like-for-like swap with Anthony Martial. I think if it was to happen, obviously Rashford is still going to be starting on the left but coming inside, Shaw coming around this side. United would need Bruno Fernandes once again to play more on this right-hand side, because if Felix is dropping left, then United can't become too one-side heavy. So I think that is something that would be important in the process, that Bruno Fernandes gradually needs to keep evolving into this more right-sided player rather than a left-sided player. But perhaps having Felix and Fernandes kind of operating like this, and you almost turn yourself into a bit of a front four, with almost at times 2 attacking midfielders. Now what that would ask of your wingers is that they at times are playing a bit more narrow, a bit more direct, because if Felix is dropping into these areas and trying to drag players, you do need runners off the ball. It would also probably mean that Antony at times would be less of an isolation winger and would have to come inside a bit more because, again, just that lack of striker, United need to find goals from somewhere. Do I think Joao Felix is going to come in and get 20 goals a season? I don't think so. I don't really think that's his game. Yes, he is a good finisher, but if we go back to his FBref report, we can see that his touches in the attacking penalty area, only in the 3rd percentile. He's not a player that really constantly wants to wait in the box and get his touches there. He wants to drop deep and link the play. Now, yes, this stat is affected by the fact that he plays for Atletico Madrid, where, again, the football's not very good. It's not expressive, open attacking football where they get lots of numbers forward. So that, of course, brings all the attacking metrics down a little bit. But I think that's why it's still impressive that he ranks so well for his non-penalty goals, but also his progressive passes and his dribbles completed. In Joao Felix, we are talking about technically one of the most complete forwards in the world. Even at 23 years old, even at a point where he hasn't really been used in his best position or in the right system, had the right attacking players around him, he is one of the most technically complete players in the world. In terms of dropping deep, turning, getting the ball, linking the play, you won't find many better central players in the world. He really is top quality, and in that respect, he is an upgrade on Martial. Now, that's a big compliment, because Martial is very good at dropping deep, very good at turning and dribbling, but also very good at linking the play with his teammates. Joao Felix is even better at it, so that would be an upgrade for United, because his ability in tight spaces is up there with the very, very best in the world. And that is what United need moving forward. If United, we've spoken about it a few times, if United are to keep improving, teams are going to drop deeper and deeper and deeper just because they're going to be aware of their threat. So United are going to need these players that are excellent in tight spaces. It's something which they don't have at the moment, or they didn't have last season. They're slowly, gradually getting there. Eriksen is better at it than what Fred was. United are moving there. The squad is heading in that direction. Joao Felix would be another big plus to that. Because like I said, in these areas, technically, he is phenomenal. And like we saw with his FP Ref report, if we just go back to it, those progressive passes, but also the pass completion, the passes attempted, false 9 material. That is what this is really screaming, a false 9, a player who wants to drop deep, get on a turn and then find his teammates. So as well as just creating space for others with his runs deep, I also think he is someone that is then incapable of finding them himself. If you think perhaps someone more like Harry Kane, the way that he plays, dropping deep and then playing a long switch pass out wide, that is definitely something that Felix is capable of doing. Again, more so than Martial. I don't think Martial is that good with his passing. He's good with his short link play. I don't think his progressive passing is quite as good. So again, that is an area where I do think Joao Felix would be an upgrade. The downside of Felix is what he does in the box. And like I said, he is a false 9. He isn't a player who's going to get you over 20 goals a season. And that does just leave you looking at this United team a little bit and going, where do the goals come from? Because Bruno Fernandes's numbers have dried up. Rashford's the one really scoring the goals. Antony, not really at the moment. Kind of half here, half there. And when he does score, it tends to be from slightly further out. He's not a player who's going to get in the box and get you a lot of goals over the course of the season. So that would kind of be the question. Where do the goals come from in this team? Because Joao Felix, very complete. Like I said, genuinely, I think he's one of the most complete players in the world. And I think if his development goes right, we will be talking about a Ballon d'Or contender. Technically, he is that good. Technically, he's one of the most aesthetically pleasing players to watch in the world. Really top quality. He has scored a couple of headers in his career, to be fair, but it's not a strength of his. In terms of United moving forward, you're not going to be able to get Luke Shaw just swinging crosses in for Joao Felix to attack. It's not really going to work. But to be fair, it's not something United have done massively all season anyway. Antony kind of occasionally floats crosses into the box, but it's not a frequent thing. Shaw does put crosses into the box, but again, it's not something we see a lot of. What United tend to do a bit more is cutbacks. And that perhaps suits Joao Felix. But also Bruno Fernandes making runs past him. I think, kind of as we're talking through it, what you can see is that I think there's potential for this move. I think Joao Felix has all the ingredients personally as a player to be a very good false 9. I just don't think it's a smooth transition. I think going from playing with a striker alongside you to being the only striker is a big change. I think going from Spanish football to English football is a big change. I think going from a defensive-minded coach to a more offensive-minded coach is a big change, although probably one that suits Felix more. If he's in a more attacking system, a more possession-heavy side, then he will get the ball more, which I think suits him. But I do just think there are changes that would need to happen. I don't think it's a kind of a seamless fit into the team, but we are talking about a player, like I said, who moved for over £150 million, 3 years ago. This guy is top quality. Really top quality. He's up there, one of them, like I keep saying, one of the most complete forwards in the world. I really do think he is special. It's a case of, can Ten Hag unlock him? And is Manchester United the right club to unlock him at with the players currently there? And that's where I have my question. Because I just wonder, where do the goals come from? If Marcus Rashford isn't firing, or is out of the team injured, or being rested or something, where do the goals come from? Now, perhaps this sort of system, this sort of striker with Joao Felix dropping it deeper, would perhaps move Fernandes further forward at times, which would see Fernandes score more goals. We do know he is capable of making that run past the centre forward, so perhaps that could work in that sense. I just think it could work, but I just don't think it's an easy solution, which is why, for me, I think, hear me out on this, I think it's a deal United should go for in January. Because of the fact that you can do it on a loan. If this was outright saying £80 million right now, I don't think it's worth the risk. I think it's too much of a gamble. I think there are other more natural strikers in the market currently. However, as a false 9, someone who can do the link play, I don't think there's anyone better than Joao Felix. And the fact that you can get him on loan kind of takes the risk away a little bit. United could get him on loan, see how he does for 6 months, and then if it works, then go spend the big money in the summer. So that is why I would be really tempted by this loan. For me, the one downside, apart from the time that is needed to adapt, the one downside is his injury record. Because he is a player who has missed a lot of games. However, what we can see is that he's never really missed a lot of games. Kind of 6 games in one spell is the most he has missed. However, there are a few recurring ankle injuries, which is a little bit of a concern. I think, especially moving from La Liga to Premier League, the Premier League is much more physical. So I do worry about that a little bit, but I don't know. I really don't know what to say on that. Let me know what you think. Do you think that injury record is kind of enough to put you off the signing? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For me personally, it's not, especially again on loan. I think the fact it's a loan really takes a lot of the risk away from it. I think it makes it much more doable for Manchester United in January. We know financially the Glazers have run the club into the ground and the club's basically bankrupt. So being able to do a loan deal, get a striker in, get a forward in, a versatile forward in, I think it gives United options, and it's a cheaper way to do it. I mean, just before we finish the video, he could even come in and play in Bruno Fernandes' role at times. Play Martial ahead of him. In certain games, perhaps in the Cup where Bruno Fernandes can be rested, that is something that could happen as well. But in general, I think he would be the main man up top, rotating with Martial, with Bruno Fernandes behind him. Kind of got that Portuguese link up there, the two know each other's game from working in the national team. It's a move I would like to see. I think it's something that we need to perhaps look into a little bit more, and perhaps I'll even do a part 2 on this video, or if he does complete a move to the club, then I will look at how he will fit in more detail. But in terms of, as a brief overview, I like the look of the move. I think he really could perform that sort of Dusan Tadic-esque role from 2019 under Ten Hag into this 2022-2023 Erik Ten Hag side. It's a move that personally I would like to see. I'd like to see United certainly pursue it, see what happens, because like I said, it takes a lot of the risk away by being alone. And if it works, then you found yourself a bit of a gem. Because on his day, absolutely quality, absolutely world class. A truly world class young talent with the potential to go so far in his career. But yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say for today's video. So I guess now it's your turn to get in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about Joao Felix. Also let me know kind of your feelings on the Gakpo situation. How disappointed are you? Like I said, personally, I don't think he was the right fit, so I'm not too bothered. But let me know what you think on Joao Felix. Is this the right player? Could he come in and play as a centre forward, or does he not really fit the system? Is his injury record too bad? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.